Hello, my name is Campanella Godfrey, and I am a member of the New York Metro chapter of Cybersecurity. At Cybersecurity, we recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month. It's a time to celebrate the rich cultural heritage and significant contributions of Hispanic and Latino individuals to various fields in cybersecurity. And within cybersecurity, Hispanic and Latino practitioners have played a crucial role in shaping the industry. This program aims to recognize and highlight their remarkable achievements, innovations, and contributions to the cybersecurity field by highlighting those everyday heroes. Today, I will introduce Edison Alvarez and Alberto Carcamo. Edison Alvarez is a senior director and regulatory affairs and is responsible for strategic cybersecurity regulatory leadership at Becton Dickinson, a global medical technical company that is advancing the world of health by improving medical discovery, diagnostics, and the delivery of care. Edison brings 15 years of experience in product management, cybersecurity, risk management, and team building. At BD, Edison has established several teams and enterprise capabilities, including portfolio, as well as product management and product security engineering and information cybersecurity governance, just to name a few. Since 2016, he has built and matured BD cybersecurity risk organization into industry-leading healthcare cyber risk management program, fostering the adoption of product security risk assessments, penetration testing, and remediation planning for the company's R&D and quality organizations. Edison also participates and collaborates with industry working groups, including the Medical Device Innovation Consortium, as well as the Health Sector Coordinating Council and MITRE. He also holds a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from Terry University and an MBA from Fairleigh Dickinson University. He was previously responsible for the development and overall product health for the medical device Siemens Healthcare product portfolio project. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Edison Alvarez. Welcome.
Thank you, Campanella. Appreciate it. Nice to be here.
Nice to meet you as well. As I introduce our next panelist for today is Alberto Carcamo. Alberto Carcamo is an operational technology OT SOC analyst at Becton Dickinson. After working 7 years in the automotive diesel field as a technician for New Jersey Transit, Alberto decided to pursue his passion for computers and technology by transitioning into cybersecurity. He has a strong background in threat analysis, incident response, and disaster recovery. Alberto is passionate about cybersecurity and values helping and educating others on the ever-evolving cyber landscape. He also holds a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity from St. Peter's University and holds several industry certifications, as well as Microsoft 200 security operations and also Splunk power user certification. Alberto's personal goals includes interacting and giving back to those looking to break into the field, while his professional goals do include passing more advanced certifications as the CISSP and eventually looking to become a CISO one day, which is the Chief Information Security Officer. Alberto volunteers with the Sierra Club and Jersey City Rotary Club, performing acts of service to better help his community and give back whenever possible. Some of his hobbies are football, go Dolphins, as well as working on cars and learning new technologies day in and day out, as well as powerlifting. Welcome, Alberto.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedule today to join us at Cybersecurity as we look to speak more about and celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month and talk about cybersecurity and what impacts the Hispanic diaspora has given to the industry. And I'm sure you esteemed individuals can speak on that. If possible, let's start off with this question, Edison, and then followed by Alberto. Can you share your personal journey and experience as a Hispanic Latino individual in the cybersecurity field?
Sure. So I think my story, I've been very fortunate, fortunate enough to have great mentors along my journey. I didn't start in cybersecurity. For me, it was a progression. I think you spoke a little bit about that in my background. And so for me, the journey and experience has been, through groups like Cybersecurity, where you really find other folks that are talented and amazing individuals out there at all levels of the organizations, right, that are willing to spend the time to speak to you about cybersecurity, their journey as well, provide mentorship, and then help guide you towards that. So for me, my journey's been one where I never really had a long-term plan of a career in cybersecurity, but started out in engineering, went into portfolio and product management, and through those experiences, cybersecurity was a recurring theme. And as early on, as medical devices began to get connected, there's a lot of opportunity and improving patient care during that time, but there's also a risk with those type of technologies. And so really asking back then our security organization, what are the things that we need to look out for? They were more than willing to really go in and explain. And then that really drove an interest. And so for me, again, that journey, it wasn't one that was really mapped out in cyber. It was just being curious and open-minded about what I was doing.
Thank you for sharing, Alberto.
Yeah, so my journey's fairly new. As you said in my introduction, is like I transitioned over from a completely unrelated field in the automotive diesel field to cybersecurity, and honestly, it's been one of the best decisions I ever made. It's been one of the most welcoming and I would say overall amazing experiences I've had so far. So I've never ran into anyone that would shoo me away or tell me no, I don't want to express or teach you anything that I've had knowledge on. Is like everyone's always very open and willing to impart knowledge. Uh, you would think since it's such a big uh, field that you wouldn't run into the same people or people aren't connected, but it's like it's fairly crazy to know how connected really everyone in cybersecurity really is. And one connection leads to another, and everyone's always trying to help each other. So it's a great community to be a part of. I feel very blessed, honestly, to make that had made the transition into cyber. Initially, my first thought when coming into cyber was, will I fit in? It's it's one of those, like, you're brand new to something, you don't know if it's the right fit, if it's going to work. But thankfully, it's been a very eye-opening experience. Everyone's been more than helpful and inviting. It's something very it's something beautiful to see, honestly, when you see how much people are willing to reach out and help you along your way and with your path. And like Edison said, is just like there's so many great mentors that you run across as your career progresses that you don't initially start thinking of cyber. Like I personally didn't. It's like I went into just thinking I was gonna go to tech and, like, oh, I'm gonna do coding or something along those lines. And I had a professor that just preached about cybersecurity, and the more he preached, the more I fell in love. So here we are, 4 6 years later, you could say, and I love every minute of it. So it's been a very surreal experience, and I'm just very grateful to be a part of the community.
Thank you, Alberto. Edison, I want to ask a question to you real quick. You spoke about certain groups, and could you elaborate a little bit more on some of those groups? Because similar to Alberto, you did mention cybersecurity was something that kind of found you, right? So could you speak to how these groups kind of helped mold your career or kind of transition you into the field a little more?
Yeah, I'm going to actually echo some of what Alberto said, right? There's so many of us in the field, right? You would think, that you wouldn't talk to the same people or share the experiences, but it is a very tight community within industry. And there's other groups. Obviously, I think one that comes quickly to mind is High Tech. If you guys haven't heard of that, it's another organization trying to really help, and it's Hispanic Technology Executive Council. But these type of groups, I think what I really enjoy is it's at all levels of the organization. Right? So you see folks that look like us, having chief information security officer roles or chief information officer roles, and in a variety of different industries, whether it's financial or healthcare, and just their willingness to give back. And again, I can't use the word mentoring enough. I think sometimes we're being mentored or we're mentoring and we don't even realize it, right? You're just sharing experiences, and we're just really trying to just have conversations and share our knowledge. And I think that's really key for me, the cyber family, because of that. A gentleman by the name of Rob Suarez, who was former CISO at BD. I worked with him at Siemens as well. He's one individual that's just openly, willing to help people and bring them into this industry. Alberto, you said you weren't part of cyber, neither was I, right? But we're both here and we're really in love with it. And we see the tremendous opportunities that it's bringing and opening up, right? Not just to minorities, but really everyone. And as technology continues to advance and we connect things even more and we do more and more, we're now more conscious of what we're doing with this technology. And cybersecurity is just as critical as anything else in that ecosystem. So it's been a tremendous journey. It's not going to stop, right? It's only going to continue to evolve and grow. And I'll have more gray hair, or probably even less as it continues. But it's like Alberto, right? It's just I think I'm very fortunate to have found myself here.
Thank you. Now, question for both of you. What advice do you have for aspiring cybersecurity professionals, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds who are looking to break into the field, maybe don't have the resources here? Because cybersecurity has become a buzzword as of late within the past few years. So what advice do you have to give to those individuals who might not have the resources or are looking to really tap in and get into the field?
Alberto, you want me to go first? I'll do my best, and then I think you probably have even more since you're a little bit fresher out. But we keep talking about groups like Cybersecurity or High Tech, and their goals. They sponsor younger individuals that are coming into the space, or folks that don't have the means. While there are obviously now college degrees that are really focused towards this, there's a lot of certifications. There's a lot of self-development that you can take. And there is a significant gap in workforce for cybersecurity. And so there's a lot of opportunity, where organizations are bringing folks in. And we talk a lot about an industry really looking at job descriptions and really refining them. Right? Like all roles don't need 4-year college degrees to get started. And so really right sizing those job descriptions to bring folks in and give them the opportunities to, while not necessarily just learn on the job, it's lower those levels, right? Open up the access and say, hey, if you have some level of certification, which again, some of it you can do on your own, it's free, right? And some others you can get sponsors through, groups like Cybersecurity and others, just to get yourself in the door, and then be relentless, right? Once you're in, you've got to continue. It's not something that it's a one and done, right? Especially in technology, it's continuing to evolve, and it's something that you have to really think about. Self-development is where I think I would leave it off. And Alberto, I don't know if I'm sure you have more even to share.
So yeah, I would just echo a lot of what you just said, Edison, where it's just like reaching out to different organizations and just making yourself known in the community goes a long way in just getting the right resources in your hands. Sometimes you think that something isn't available to you just because you haven't asked for it or you haven't contacted the right person. It's just like you just got to keep on plugging away. One no shouldn't stop you from pursuing your dream or your goal of trying to be in the field. So there are plenty of organizations that are willing to give you your opportunity, even if it's a unpaid internship. You want to take that opportunity and keep on running with it. One opportunity snowballs to another. So as minute or as small as you think it might look in retrospect, it's one of the best decisions you can make is just asking for help. So be open to the community, go out and make yourself known to people, and someone will come out and find you, or you'll find them.
Yeah, there's so many organizations, guys, that are trying to help and give opportunities. I think another one that comes to mind that's close here to at least the tri-state area is NPower. Is another one that is looking to help, just as Alberto said, just keep plugging away. There's a lot of opportunity there. a lot.
You know, and the job, like Edison stated earlier, is like the job force, the job market is looking for people to join the job force. So if you're willing and able to learn, it's a difficult material at first, but I guarantee you'll get it. It's just something you got to keep on being persistent on, and once you find that passion, just don't let go of it.
Mm. Well stated. Well stated. I thank you both for that perspective and those answers. Really helpful. Really helpful. Now, as I have another question for you in regards to mentorship, right? When you look at mentorship within this space, and Edison, you stated something. I think Alberto too as well, in regards to if you hear a no, um, keep on, continue to press forward. Now, what does that look like in terms of mentorship? Because sometimes you individual looking to jump into the field might look for mentorship, but they might get a no from one individual that might
Mhm.
discourage them. What's your advice for that individual as they look for mentorship?
I think, it's mentors are several,
Mm,
right? If you look at this, compared to, say, like an organization has a board of directors, right? Um, your mentor should be like your personal board of directors, and so it's not composed of one person. Actually, you should have multiple from as many different industries as possible as well. Whether we share a lot of the same struggles, there's a lot of nuance, and obviously their personal approach to things or their journeys are going to be different. So, the mentorship side of it is, Alberto said, you get to know, you ask the next person. But it's also, I continue to reflect back on my journey, and it's also committing to yourself. Right? You're going
mm,
to ask someone to be a mentor. You've got to come prepared. What is it that you're trying to accomplish in your life? What are you trying to learn? What are you trying to get from them? And then that conversation will, kind of organically happen, and the mentorship kind of happens. But oftentimes, we think, okay, I've got a mentorship, and you go there and you want people to distill all their knowledge, and it's like, well, there may be a lot of knowledge, and it's like, can you be more, not precise, right, but more directional? And so, you got to keep this self-development, self-reflection kind of thing going. And you know again, one no is not going to stop you. There's thousands of people there, people that have helped me. I've tried to give back, right, in conversational pieces like this, and open my time up for individuals as well to come and meet with me. So it's making that commitment.
Right. So I mean, on that note, I'll just share a personal no that I received when I was going through my mentorship or my growth program, where it's just like I reached out to a CISO and he was honest about the situation where he didn't have time and he felt that I should mentor with someone that was more in the lane that I was following at the moment, which it it makes sense when you look at who you're asking to be your mentor, you know. Sometimes
Yeah.
you want to shoot for the top of the hill when it's just like there's steps that have to be taken to get there. So it's not always the ideal pairing sometimes when you're asking a person, and the no isn't personal, the no isn't an end all be all for you. So it's just an answer, you know what I mean? And you have to roll with that answer, and eventually you'll find and sometimes I honestly think the word mentor kind of comes off the wrong way, where you want more of a confidant or a friend you could think of, where you could come to them with your questions isn't in an open base and not feel judged or not think of yourself as not prepared. But you have to come prepared to those conversations where it's like this person is investing into you, so you want to give your best foot forward and always come correct with whatever they're asking from you. There's so many hours in the day, and this person is investing time into you, so you want to make sure that their time is well invested and they feel respected in their time.
Yeah. Well said.
yes, yes, agreed, agreed. So true. Well, another question for you too. A great conversation so far. I thank you both for your insight. Well, let's speak on this topic. How has heritage and your cultural background influenced your approach to problem solving and decision making in cybersecurity? Could you, Edison, start with that?
Sure, sure. I mean, listen, we're Hispanic, right? I'm an immigrant to the States, and my parents, had minimal wage jobs, right? So there's that persistence and work ethic, if you will, that I think is instilled in many Hispanics. But it spans backgrounds, but I think that kind of grit, right? That persistence. Sometimes my wife will call it stubbornness. It's needed. I think a little bit of both, but it's a very hard, field. We work in healthcare, and that kind of thing compounds it. And so you do have to be persistent. Started hearing like you get a no from a mentor, like you're gonna make mistakes, and I feel like there's a persistence there that you have to say, you get up and you keep trying different things and iterate. And so, there's a new concept that was released before, like fail fast. Don't be afraid. They're all real, right? I think that the thing that we bring in as Hispanics is that, like, we're going to work hard, right? But we also now have to start leveling up as we grow in our careers and work smarter, be effective. And Alberto, I love the fact that the CISO that gave you recommendations were like, hey, I don't have time right now, and maybe it's better for you to work with someone who's a little bit closer to where you are today, and as you're growing, it's probably more beneficial for both, right? And so I think for me is now knowing that as I continue to grow, I have to keep working harder, and I have to keep doing more. And doing more is not just internal; it's doing things back to the community as well, right? It's learning, right? So I think that's what we bring in, is that tenacity, that persistence, to how we approach things.
Right. Echoing a lot of what you said, it's the cultural background really plays a big role in the way I make my decision making, or just thought process, really. So I'm a first generation Hispanic American, and my family all grew up in the same house. So we're talking about, aunts and uncles, cousins, everyone's in there. So it's just like we learn to be resilient together and rely on each other, really. So I take that same approach when it comes to my team at work, where it's just like I'm resilient. I'm gonna keep on trying, and if you need my help, I have your back. I know you have mine, and that's just something that no matter what the problem is, I know we'll face it together. And I feel it's like a real communal experience, both from the family perspective to the work life perspective.
Thank you both. Very insightful answers. Amazing answers. What more can I say to that? Well, can you share insights on the ever-evolving threat landscape of cybersecurity, and how does that impact our digital lives today? Even from the heritage standpoint, how does this impact your family, those around you, and individuals within your community? How do you feel your insight being on the forefront within the cybersecurity industry? How does that impact their day-to-days, and how do you help them with that? If you could speak towards that, Alberto.
So I would say an insight into the evolving threat landscape would be, I'm gonna touch on the connectivity of the evolving threat landscape, where everything is being more connective, everything's more IoT, Internet of Things connectivity. So it's great because it makes our lives better and makes our lives easier, because it's creature comforts for us. But the connectivity also opens different avenues of attack and vectors of attack. And it's kind of the same thing with their digital lives, where we have access to each other more, like FaceTime and connectivity through WhatsApp and all that, but it also opens up the avenues to attack between our families. And the whole spoofing thing that's happening with the AI thing now, where for me, in my case, is like my mom actually got a call from an AI spoof pretending to use my voice. So being a Hispanic old little lady, she's just like, is this you answering in Spanish? And since I didn't answer in Spanish back, she just hung up. But if she would have answered back, who knows what that would have led to. But I feel like the connectivity and just the overall evolution of the connectivity is really, the threat landscape is just getting bigger and bigger as it goes.
Thank you. And Edison, I guess I would ask you, in the sense of, how do you explain some of these new challenges or threats out there to your family members or loved ones without spooking them out? Like, really, it's tough sometimes, even when I speak to family. But how do you go about doing that?
you become your like your family's resident, go-to person, right, for technology, and you're a cyber guy. What does all this mean? Like, well, I think you have to be conscious that they don't live your world day in and day out. And so when you speak to them, you almost have to simplify your messaging. And I have a 13-year-old son who's asking for Instagram and all of these things, and I'm trying to explain to them, that nothing is ever for free, right? There's an interest in why these platforms and these applications and these things exist, and it's because their data is currency. And so anything they can learn from us, right? Whether it's a light switch in your house and when you're turning it on and turning it off, to what you're posting online. And so what I always try to tell them is, you wouldn't tell strangers your secrets, right? Well, you're sort of doing that if you expose yourself too much on these social medias, or you're starting to connect everything. Like, it talks, right? So if you don't want someone to know what time you like to turn on your light, well, then don't get a smart switch, because that could be, the trade-off to connecting a smart switch. But yeah, not to spook them. You try to really communicate, like, this is what the data means. And if you're willing to send that information and you don't mind, then that's okay. And usually you start to hear a little bit more. Like, I'll give the example with my son. It's like, hey, that picture you'll post will live forever, right? And that comment that someone makes or that you reply to will live forever. And so you're 13 now. When you're my age, do you want to like cringe and go, like, someone may still have access to that? I'm glad I didn't grow up in this age, because I did a lot of stupid things that nobody ever knows of, that I will take to my grave. And not the reality now, right? So just it's knowing that it's this term is overrated, right? It's a smaller world, but it's everybody knows what you do if you decide to use these services, right? Not just social media, right? But like I said, there's the recognition that as you use your computer and you use a different application or an IoT device, like, yeah, people don't think social media with IoT devices, but it boils down to data, right? So I just very long explanation. I usually don't go that far long, but yeah, I try to simplify with them and just be transparent of the risks.
No, that was good. That was a great explanation. And I'm sure it's going to help a lot of the viewers and individuals who might view later, just to understand how to have that conversation, especially if you're in this field, you're looking to talk to someone outside of the field, and really not scare them. I did that yesterday, unfortunately. So it's something I need to work on as well.
Yeah.
So question for you, Edison. What key challenges have you faced in your career, and how do you overcome them? And then followed by Alberto. I know day in and day out as practitioners, we deal with challenges each and every day, either big or small. But what are some key challenges you would give to another individual, especially being at this is Hispanic Heritage Month? You want to speak to those young individuals who are looking to come up in the field. What could you say to that?
Listen, it's growth is uncomfortable, right?
That's
I
good.
think it's we tend to try to find a happy space where we feel comfortable and like not necessarily, like, again, afraid of failing. I think that was one of my big key challenges, right? Like, I don't want to fail at something, so I need to do all this extra work. And it's like, no, sometimes you have more confidence in your own abilities, but don't be afraid and don't hold back, right? So even public speaking, right? Even a conversation like this, would be difficult, for me a couple of years back. And so I think the key challenges for me have been more internal, right? More self than anything else. I do believe, once you show value in your capabilities, doors will open up, right? People will give you opportunities. So for me, it was more personal. I was limiting myself just because I didn't want to be uncomfortable. And those are the things that, probably held me back in my career a little bit more than that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would have to say a lot of the same. Where I mean, I'm fairly new to the corporate life and everything it entails, and going from being able to work on your own and just get your job done and leave at the end of the day, to like having to collaborate with other teams and present your findings and make sure everything is comprehensible for everyone involved is it was a learning curve in my end, because it was just like there was so many things that had to be incorporated or thought of that were never in my thought process before that. So yeah, just learning sometimes to get out of your own way and give it a shot, and just learn to feel that uncomfortable feeling and know that it's going to pass once you get comfortable or you get used to this. So it's just like you don't want to create a prison inside your own mind for what your capabilities really are.
Wow. Yeah. Well said. Wow. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you. Thank you. Cybersecurity, as we know, is a rapidly changing field. And as practitioners, we're kind of tasked to stay on top of the latest trends day in and day out. So what are some things that you two do? Alberto, you can start with this, to stay updated on the latest trends and technologies within cybersecurity.
So there's always something happening. Every day there's something new, something's breaking somewhere that you need to know about. So I'm a really big fan of the CISO series, the cybersecurity headlines, and they do a really good job of condensing all the big news in cybersecurity into a very like 5 to 10 minute clip. And time is valuable, and sometimes you don't have enough time to go out throughout the day. So it's amazing to get that information, in that quick short period of time. And then I'm also a big fan of Simply Cyber by Gerald Auger. He actually breaks down the what was it called? The cybersecurity headlines. He breaks them down and lets you know exactly how it's impacting, what's happening, where it's happening. So it gives you a more in-depth look into what, and just starting into the field, it's gonna sound like a bunch of gibberish to you. Like I don't know what any of these acronyms mean or who these people are, but I guarantee you, the more you listen, the more you give it a shot, it's like it all starts to fall into place and it all makes more sense. And you start making the connections on what's valuable information to you. You know what I mean? Not everything is gonna be important to you on a day-to-day basis, but they're always a good thing to know what's happening in the world. Another couple of quick YouTube channels that I love to visit, just for knowledge base, is Professor Messer's channel. Always has great stuff if you're studying for something. Network Chuck always has great videos. They're very informative. And Unix Guy, he has great videos as well for whatever is happening or just an insight on cyber.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of good resources shared there. How about you, Edison?
A little bit of the same. I will admit, right, that there is too much, right? There is information overload, and so there is a little bit of selection process at some point, right? Like you can be in cybersecurity, but you're not going to know all of it for all aspects. So, going back to what's more relevant to me and where I do on a daily basis, and so for me, I've really relied a lot on, just industry working groups and relationships that I've established, with other folks in my same space, but maybe in a different company, right? Like, so I'll have threads with other folks in other medical device manufacturers, or your ex-colleagues, and we talk about it, right? And just, virtual coffee chats, and just like, what did you think about this thing that happened, or how would we have responded, or what would we have done, or just in some cases, just like, I'm lost, help me, right? Like, yeah. It's 50 pages of regulations that I'm reading through, and I'm like, I'm not making heads or tails of it sometimes.
Gotcha.
So it's sometimes it's just really being, again, back to mentorship, collaboration, things like that. And a lot of the deep knowledge that I've gotten, out of some of this stuff has been through those relationships.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Well, could you both highlight a specific accomplishment or project you could speak of that you're proud of within your cybersecurity career thus far? Something that kind of defines a pinnacle place where, hey, I took ownership of this. I've done this. As detailed as you can be. But being respectful to your respective places of work. But yeah, could you speak on that? Yeah.
Alberto, you want to start out and then I'll follow your lead?
Sure. So, sorry, I was getting a little interference here on my internet.
No worries.
Yeah, it's a little chop. Edison, if you wouldn't mind just answering
Yeah,
first.
no worries. So I think for me, starting at BD in cybersecurity, when I came here, we were just standing up our product security organization. And so there's a lot of flexibility, and it's, you kind of shape it and how you're going to think it can work, but it's also the responsibility of it, right? If it doesn't work, then it's a little bit of a double-edged sword there, but really creating that program, creating policies, right, for our organization that are still being leveraged today, several years later, and recognizes industry, parts of that, and sitting in these industry working groups are really the moments where you go, wow, like something that I've committed to and really worked hard at is not just for my organization, but for industry being referenced, right? Or whether that was a small contribution and with some of the reviews that we did, or they've reused some of the stuff that we've done, knowing that what you're working on has a bigger impact. So again, for internally here at BD, at least it was program creation for product security. Some of that stuff is referenced, and Healthcare Sector Coordinating Council is an organization that created a joint security plan for product and medical device cybersecurity. There's a lot of things that we created at BD that I was part of that are actually referenced there. So just knowing that that will live on is really, really something I'm proud of.
Yes. Amazing.
So I would say that a specific project or accomplishment that I'm proud of, or just recent, I could say, is the Microsoft 200 was my first certification in cybersecurity. So it made me really feel part of the community. It made me feel like I was in the field and making it happen. And like, there's always this pride or joy that happens when you get recognition for passing something. So that felt that felt amazing. But I would also say that a personal accomplishment, I guess, for me, breaking into a new field and transitioning over. Um, my capstone project in college, it was a basic project. We were just made to present create a company, make it cybersecurity related, and it was fun, it was educational, but it was personal and great for me, just because it was the first time that my family was able to see me present in anything to do with cybersecurity. So it was very heartfelt moment for me, and it was just one of those moments that you just carry along.
Thank you. I mean, that's inspirational. Being able to share your experience from Edison, being able to create a program that's still living and breathing today, major accomplishment. And then Alberto having an opportunity to share what his growth has been like in cybersecurity with his family. Phenomenal. Um, what are some unique perspective and strength do you feel that Hispanic and Latino cybersecurity professionals bring to the industry? I think we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but could you dig a little deeper into that if possible, Edison?
Could you repeat that again? Sorry. I think
What are
maybe it's not just your headset, Alberto, mine too. No. I'm not blaming your mic. I'm just, maybe it's just the internet connection, period.
Let me know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So what are some unique perspectives and strengths that Hispanic and Latino cybersecurity professionals bring to the industry? You can pull from any of your peers that are Hispanic or from the Latino background that you can speak on some of their accomplishments as well that you feel really have helped push the industry forward.
Yeah, I think seeing someone, with similar backgrounds or challenges that you've had hold positions or executive leadership positions, it's very motivating, right? It kind of breaks down this mental barrier. I think, Alberto, you said this before, right? Where it's like, don't hold yourself back, but the more examples you see of, individuals that have similar backgrounds in these executive leadership positions, kind of like start removing a little bit of that hesitation or that fear. And again, I think when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it's not just one thing or another, right? It's different backgrounds, different industries, different experiences, different ages, right? That's diversity. And I think when for me, it's, looking at someone like Alberto who's just fresh out of college, and now he's starting his career. He may see me and go, there's this older guy over there and something boring called regulatory, right? But the fact that we're both working in an organization within cybersecurity, it starts to tell you, like, oh, listen, there's opportunities, there's a place for all of us, and we can do this, right? Let's not limit ourselves. We're talented, we're hardworking, we've got family support, we've got resources. What there's no other excuse, if you will, right, to not take that leap forward and really bring our talents, if you will, right? Not to quote LeBron, bring our talents into cybersecurity and do what we do best, man. And that's just outwork and outgrid folks.
Yeah, a lot to what you said is like, I feel like we bring a lot of resilience, tenacity, and just the ability to adapt to and innovate in certain situations. I feel like it's something that just is unique, not unique just to the Hispanic culture, but is like something that we strive to achieve in everything that we do. Like a no isn't going to deter us. If there's a problem, we'll find a way around it. There's always this tenacity to continue even when people are telling you no. So I feel like that perspective in cybersecurity is needed on a team sometimes when you keep on running into the same problem and bashing your head against walls that you can't get out of the room. So it's just like you need that person in your corner to keep you motivated, or at least tell you that no matter what happens, we'll get through that.
Agreed. So speaking about inclusion as well as diversity, how can organizations, do you too, Phil, within the industry promote greater diversity and inclusion within cybersecurity? What are some, concepts or any things you can state that would help that mission, Edison?
It's helping people like you, Campanella, who are already involved in the community and bringing it into more corporate type of involvement, working. And we're doing this now, I think, and not just, I'm not saying we, I'm like BD, I'm saying we just in the world, right, where, diversity and inclusion is getting a lot more attention because of obviously the benefits that brings, but really partnering with outside organizations on talent, identification, or working programs for individuals coming out of college, right? That just broadening that to include more diversity focused groups like Cybersecurity or High Tech or Empower, some of the organizations that we met. And I think that's really where you see that it's, again, not a single time effort, right? It's a continual commitment. It's developing that pipeline. And once you have individuals here, is how are you supporting them through self-development, even internally creating mentorship opportunities. I think that's really how organizations will ensure diversity and inclusion are as impactful as they can be. And it's not just the numbers of hiring and showing a pretty chart of, percentage of this and percentage of that. Is what's the growth of those individuals internally once they have reached the organization. That's important. So I think that they are taking steps. Again, I'm speaking on behalf of BD here. I think just organizations in general see obviously the value of it and are investing in it. Just continue to support more of that. That's my message.
Thank you, Alberto. Could you speak?
Yeah, I would say starting young. Like sometimes we take for granted how young a person is already using technology, and it it sounds funny to say out loud, but it's like teaching a fifth grader about cybersecurity at a young age is probably the exposure that person might need to get interested in cybersecurity at a young age. Just giving people the opportunity to start, I don't know, maybe like some type of classroom outreach program that gives exposure to children at younger ages, or just the knowledge needed to know that this even exists. I mean, I didn't know cybersecurity was a thing until I was in my late 20s. So, just giving people the opportunity or the option to learn and the exposure, I believe, is a good starting point for the right way to do about it. But there's so many ways that we could, be inclusive, that I feel like we're doing a good job in the cybersecurity community of reaching out and trying to make our community grow as as well as we can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, with the increasing prevalence of remote work, online activities, what cybersecurity tips or best practices do you both recommend for individuals to protect themselves? Edison?
Wow. We started touching a little bit on this when you're like the resident expert. But in remote work, obviously through COVID, this was something that really pushed organizations and people at home to like, oh, well, I'm doing all this through home, right? And again, I think it becomes a learning moment where, okay, what am I doing at home? What am I using on my phone? What am I accessing? What information am I putting into these devices, and what's my cyber hygiene, if you will? Am I just having like 20 windows open and sharing all kinds of information, and just knowing it's a different realm. I mean, I was talking to a family member the other day. I was like, listen, if your credit card company offers a virtual card, do that, right? Don't use your debit card for online purchases, right? Because it's not a matter of if something's going to happen. It's just eventually your information will be lost. We all will be part of some type of data breach, and our information will be found. And so try to be, we talk a lot about risk reduction internally, yes. Right? It's the same conversation when we talk about remote work, or we talk about what we're doing online. It's try to know the risk and be mindful of what you're doing. I used to tell folks before, it seems silly, and don't take this as a bad joke, but I was like, clear your cache, right? Clear your browsing history. I'm not saying you're visiting those type of websites. I'm just saying this is just, you just minimize your footprint,
yes.
and clean up, right? And just be mindful. Again, it's just because it's there doesn't mean you have to use it. There's sometimes risks that you're not recognizing. So it's just awareness, right? Awareness.
Very important. Very important.
I would echo the awareness in the same manner, but just in the sense of physical awareness. There's a lot of people that remote work and don't necessarily remote work from home. They like going to cafes or signing on to like public internet Wi-Fi connections and all that. And it's just like, this is a big no-no when you're trying to connect to an enterprise. So there's a lot of also just shoulder surfing that could happen at a cafe that you're not aware of. You might have sensitive information on your screen that should only be privy to certain people, and you don't know who the person behind you is. So maybe getting a good screen blocker, if that is your cup of tea, that you like to go to cafes and just be out and about to do your work, is like, just be mindful of what you connect to and who's around you.
Well said. Well said. Well said. So no more Starbucks trips, right? Okay.
Not unless you have a privacy screen.
Okay.
I was just on a plane yesterday, and like the guy next to me was trying to look at my phone, and I'm like, really? Like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even think they do it consciously, right? I think it's just a reality.
I totally agree with you. So as we look to conclude, and as we celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month, and I thank you too for taking time out of your busy schedules to join Cyversity for this conversation, the New York Metro Group for this conversation. We're very ecstatic that you join us, and hopefully we'll have you back next year once more. But what message would you like to convey to the cybersecurity community and the broader audience about the contributions of Hispanic and Latino professionals? Edison, you can start off.
Yeah, well, again, thank you for having me. And it's really humbling to speak about this. I don't like talking about myself too much, but I think the message is, we said it throughout, is we're a strong community, right? And we're capable. Let's not limit ourselves. Let's support ourselves outside of our immediate groups. Be curious. about cybersecurity. It's not just tech. I sit in regulatory, right? And if anybody's familiar with regulatory, it's not a sexy term, right? But there's important work and fulfilling work that's there. So just be really open to the opportunities that cybersecurity can open. There's so many different types of industries. I think that's another thing that you really just you start to realize, like, it exists in finance, it exists in healthcare, it exists in everywhere you look in every industry. Cybersecurity is a part of that now, and so there are no limits to where you can go as far as working and growth. And so just continue to push forward. Again, we're a strong community and we're capable. Let's go.
Well said, Alberto.
All right, I would like to start with si se puede. You know what I mean? We could do it, and, and it's out there. If you want it, you could do it, and I guarantee you the resources are available. You just have to continue to plug away. As a person transitioning into cyber, it's a great field to transition into. There's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of people that are willing to help. The Latino community continues to grow within the space, so don't be afraid of being the only one in the room. That's will change with time, and even if you are, your voice matters. So just continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Now I want to ask them, do you have any LinkedIn information you would like to provide for individuals who would like to follow up, maybe curious about some of the points you gave or information you gave today? Possible? Edison or Alberto?
Yeah, you can look at my profile. There's the working groups that I've mentioned throughout. You can reach out to those folks as well. There's I believe her name is Kelly Francis from High Tech, and I forget the gentleman's name from NPower today. But there's two individuals there. I can share the information through you guys later. Those are folks that are more than willing to give you backgrounds or connect you with other people to help you progress in your career.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Alberto?
Likewise, you can find me on LinkedIn. Please don't hesitate to connect. If I don't know the information, I'll try my best to connect you with someone that does. And if there's anything I could do to help you along your way, I'm always an open resource, so don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Thank you both. So from the New York chapter of Cybersecurity, we just want to thank you once more, both Edison as well as Alberto, for your time today. And thank you for working with us as we organize this program. We aim to honor the achievements of the Hispanic and Latino cybersecurity community and inspire growth within the next generation of cybersecurity leaders, as well as foster a more diverse and inclusive industry. So once more, from the New York chapter of Cybersecurity, we thank you and hope everyone who has viewed this wonderful conversation, you have an amazing day.
Great. Thank you, guys. Take care, everyone.